All right, everybody, welcome to another episode here of the Rocketcast, and you're here with myself, Nick Saruda, and today we have our lovely guest, Mr. Jayson Casper. He is a YouTuber who's well known for some of his trading that he does himself, some of the chart analysis that he does, and also just known for being a good personality and a good dude online, which is hard to find nowadays. So he actually has 80,000 subscribers currently, and he's been actively on YouTube since 2017, and he's been an active crypto trader since 2018. So I think he's going to have some great insights for us today, especially as someone who's been in the markets for some time and isn't just a new trader. I think it's going to be a great perspective for people to listen to. So thanks for joining us, Jayson. Would you like to talk a little bit about how you got into crypto originally?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Nick, thanks so much for having me on, man, by the way. I'm honored.
Absolutely. Pleasure.
Yeah, so how did I get into crypto trading? Um, well, I've always been I guess, kind of a contrarian in general. Uh, Never really did well in school, not because I couldn't, but because I just didn't want to do any work. I remember there was a time in 12th grade where I had a 30% grade average in my class, and my teacher came to me and he's like, "Hey, Jayson, what's going on with this?" And he told me I had 30%, and I was shocked that the grade was so high because I had literally done no work. I'd done nothing. I'm like, how is it so high, 30%?
Yeah.
And so I always wanted to make money without having a job. So I've been I've been basically a business owner since I was in middle school. Man, I sold candy in middle school. I
Love
made
that.
like thousands of dollars doing it. Not
Dude,
even
I remember
joking.
the kids that used to sell candy in high school. They used to cake out.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was legit. And so I just online businesses and stuff like that, and I started to realize that because I'm all about self-sufficiency pretty much in life, coming from all different angles. And so businesses, that's huge, but then also being able to take that money that you've made from the business and invest it and grow it,
Yes.
because that basically unchains you from having to have clients and all these other things, right? So that's what got me into the idea of investing in general, and just through the years that led me down to basically trading crypto derivatives. That's where I'm at right now. So futures, derivatives, and all that stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that's some good stuff for us to kind of get into now. Um, so what originally sparked you into trading? Feasibly, you weren't the best student, finished up with that, started getting, into trading a little bit. Like, what originally sparked your interest? Was it a family member? Was it just something you'd seen in movies and you knew you wanted to do?
Trading. It's something I'd always kind of known about. You always hear about people who are day traders, and you kind of like know the like internet meme of like the guy with like the Lamborghini, and like
Sure.
he's a day trader and he's just making millions, right? Um,
Yes.
for me, it's really just all about being able to provide a stream of income without having to have a boss, without having to have clients, without having to have hours. I'm not chained to any location. As long as I have a cell phone, I can do it, right?
Yeah.
Um, the thing that I guess really pushed me to start trading more full time was the lockdowns and stuff like that started happening in 2020. Um, because for me, like Plan B, I had owned an online marketing business since 2012. That was my main hustle, and my side hustle was trading. But when 2020 happened, 25% of my clients went out of business for good. A lot of them were
That's
in New
tough.
York City. Yeah, and I'm like, I
What-
should really take this trading thing more seriously,
Yeah.
because you can't really close that down.
What kind of businesses were you working with at the time?
I was working with pretty much everything, man, but a lot of just brick and mortar businesses, especially in like the New York City area. So like printers, um, everything, man. Roofers. We've had the only businesses that didn't go out were doctors' offices.
That's interesting. So you start like taking more attention with it, everything that happened in 2020. Obviously, this was a great time to also be a trader, right? Because stocks only went up. Um,
Yeah.
you had been dabbling previously. What were some of the steps you had to take when you were like, "Hey, this is now I'm going to make this into a career"? What were some of the changes that you had to make, maybe mentally?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty natural progression. But basically, I had been focusing mostly on swing trading, so I was big into riding big trends in Bitcoin, like the 2019 bull market that we had. I basically just, with very low leverage, just basically took some spot Bitcoin of mine and traded inverse perpetual contracts so that as the price of Bitcoin went up, the amount of Bitcoin that I had also went up. And so I was basically, instead of just holding Bitcoin as the price went up, I was actually growing my Bitcoin holdings, which is really
Yeah,
cool.
you were almost like creating a bull ETF out of your own holdings.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it was like. And basically, I just started to trade on lower time frames and really focus on, all right, I've been looking at the daily time frame, and like the lowest I would go would be like the 4 hour time frame. And now I will be trading on many time frames, even the 1 minute. Today I actually took two trades literally off the 1 minute time frame. So that was like the biggest change, was just the time frame and the amount of time that I actually spent on the charts looking for intraday levels and not just these macro areas of support and resistance.
Right. Now, for our listeners who may be a little less inclined in the trading atmosphere, when you're talking about these time differences, right? Um, and we're mainly talking about charting with candle patterns, correct?
Correct. Right.
So, um, for people who may not know, when we're talking about like an hourly or a daily candle, these are one candle that's going to measure all the price action within a single day. So generally, people who are looking at a daily chart or a 4 hour chart, even, they're trying to get a larger picture of the market and then make long term investment strategies based off of that. Versus when someone starts looking at minute candles, 5 minute candles, 30 minute candles, they have a much more intraday view, and they might even just be trying to get down to a cellular level of what's actually going on with the price action to time their entry correct. Would you say that's kind of a good analysis of what the perspective shift?
Yeah, that's a good analysis. Essentially,
Um,
just looking for more trades, just simply looking for more frequent trades to take. Because, if you're a swing trader, you might be taking like one trade. Sometimes you don't even take one trade per month.
right.
But price doesn't move straight up or straight down. It's going to go up. If it were in an uptrend, it'll go up a lot and then down a little, and then up a lot and then down a little. And so, if you're trading smaller time frames, what you can do is you can go long when price is going up, and then go short when price is going down, and you can squeeze a lot more gains out of the price action than you could if you're just looking at the amount of price action that's happening every single day. And really, there's so much opportunity out there. Even if you're just like I said, a day trader, there's some days where I might take like 5, 6 trades a day on a good day. And to a person looking on on a daily chart where every candlestick represents one day of price action, you might see it's moving completely sideways. You say there's no volatility here. But if you're zooming in, like you were saying, where every candle is worth 1 minute of price action, well, then you say, no, we were ranging from a low to a high all day, and there were many opportunities to buy low and sell high.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say one thing that enabled you to make the switch was going and switching to more of a day trader mentality, just because there's more opportunities, there's more at bats to make gains.
Right. And with the growth of my YouTube channel, that also kind of pushed me to um, trade more, actually, because now I had a platform where I was talking about trading. And so the way I have content to talk about is by trading,
Yeah,
So
sure.
it kind of like goes hand in hand.
What sparked you to really like push for the YouTube channel more?
Um, well, to be honest with you, I've been using an indicator called Market Cipher since I think about 2020. And a little bit about my trading background. I come from the well, in my past, I was really into the no nonsense forex method. Are you familiar with that?
I'm actually not. No, would love to hear about it.
All right, so there's a guy out there named VP. I don't know his real name, But he trades forex using only indicators. He doesn't look at the price action at all. He simply uses indicators for his entry, for his stop loss, for his take profits, everything.
Wow.
And so I had been venturing down that path for a while, and I was building these things called algorithms, where you basically you have an algorithm to tell you whether or not to enter into a trade. You just open up a chart, you look at your indicators, and it's either trade or no trade, or
Fair.
manage your trade. And um, when I came across Market Cipher, I discovered that I could use this one indicator to fulfill all five of the indicators that I had been using previously. And now, personally, I always also used support and resistance and Fibonacci and stuff like that mixed with these indicators to help give me really accurate entries. So Market Cipher came along, and I'm like, wow, this indicator is like an all-in-one package. This is giving me amazing entry signals. It's telling me when I should at least take profits. It's it really is a great indicator at even knowing where you should put your stop loss and everything, just based on everything it provides. And so in, I think it was January 2021, BitBoy Crypto made a video about Market Cipher, and he basically said, in more words than this, he basically told people, if you just long the green dot, you'll probably make a lot of money. And right then, myself being an SEO guy and being a marketer, I realized, hey, I have a great opportunity right now to make some content about Market Cipher, because I know there are not a lot of tutorials out, and I'd been using
Mhm.
this thing for about a year with a lot of success. And I knew there were going to be a whole bunch of people longing the green dots getting absolutely wrecked.
I was gonna say that seems like a bad idea.
Well, it worked well for a few months in 2021,
Right.
right?
Well, and also the market was probably going straight up at that point.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So for a few months, from the time he made that video to maybe a few weeks after that, it worked really well. And so I I stepped in basically to fill a void that there were not many Market Cipher tutorials. So I started making content about that. And that's what really grew my channel. And eventually the creator of the indicator, CryptoFace, he had me on his channel. And then eventually BitBoy had me on his channel. And so
Oh wow!
that is what
You made an appearance on BitBoy's channel.
I did, yeah. And shout out to Ben from BitBoy Crypto for giving me that opportunity. He basically just gave me a half hour infomercial to like
Yeah,
plug myself.
that's awesome.
And yeah, so that's how the channel really grew. I didn't really set out to be what I am, but once I saw that I
Yeah,
had a captive audience, I figured, being the entrepreneur that I am, I'm like, hey, I have a great platform. Let me now turn this into a business. So, I've have courses that I sell. I have a trading group, subscription based trading group. Which, by the way, we have some amazing traders in there, and we're working on some other really cool things like trading bots and stuff like that. So,
that's awesome. Um, the cool thing about like I think some of these communities is like you get a group of people who all want to trade together, and especially when people are using similar signals, it helps develop more confidence in your trades, and it helps you to also learn too. There's a lot of people who are kind of like how BitBoy gave you a great opportunity to grow your platform. There's a lot of traders out there who I think are very willing to help newer traders learn the game and save them some time, money, and energy that we've all paid to the market ourselves already.
right, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll tell you, the my own trading Discord. I've learned so much from the other traders in there, and I'm constantly growing as a trader. And it's just so great to, you go to the charts every day, and you have your ideas, you have your plans, and then you come into the Discord and you see other people either showing you something you missed or coming at it from a different angle. And it's just really cool to see that kind of stuff.
No, absolutely. I think that's a big part of why it's worth it to join a lot of these communities or subscriptions or whatnot is just to get more discourse going instead of getting stuck in your own thought patterns and just you have no one else to bounce anything off of. So it's really easy to be blindsided in the market.
Right, for sure, man, for sure.
So, as a YouTuber and someone who has kind of like, you know, an exclusive audience, do you feel like pressure to get your trades right all the time? Do you feel like pressure that, um, if you don't hop on for a day that people are going to be like losing their minds? Like how do you like kind of dance that line right there?
Yeah, man, I have to be honest. So I've gone through phases with that. So at first, there was a lot of pressure that I put upon myself. Um, and honestly, it was pretty intense, I have to say.
I can
Um,
imagine.
because it takes like the trading psychology to a whole nother level when people are like looking at you as like because let's be honest, a lot of people join these groups because they just want somebody to tell them what to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm gonna get people wrecked if I like take a loss. Now I just honestly I don't even care at all anymore because like the reality is like I'm here not to tell you what to do. I'm here to teach you and show you basically what I'm doing, right? I'm always preaching good risk management. I am always preaching don't take a trade unless you have your confirmations and all that stuff. And so at the end of the day, if somebody's going to like blow their account, it's because they weren't being responsible with their own risk. And
Absolutely.
if I post a trade and I take the trade and the trade is a loss, that's just part of the game, right? Like that
Yeah.
is what it is. And so I do take losses. I do post trades, and I post my losses when I take them. And you know, when I do take losses, it's a good opportunity to talk about risk management. Like, hey, I took this loss, but hey, I'm not risking more than I should, so it's not going to set me back enough to the point where I can't come back tomorrow and recover those losses, maybe even more so.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what are some of the highlights? What are some of the better trades you've ever taken? And what's it like when you have a big winner like that?
Some of the best trades I've ever taken. Well, I did long Bitcoin. This was before I was really on YouTube, but back in the day, I think in January 2021, I took a long on Bitcoin right before Elon Musk tweeted, and I held that thing for months, and it was probably the biggest percent move I've ever had. If we're talking about percentage without leverage, and
Okay.
so let's see exactly the price of that was. Hmm. Okay, yeah. So on January 27th, I longed Bitcoin from 29.5 $1,000, and I held it until February, I think Valentine's Day, something like that. But that was a 100% move. Um,
Wow.
so that's the best trade I've ever taken. But that was a very low leverage move. That was basically doing the thing where I'm holding my spot Bitcoin to multiply it. Um, in recent times, I shorted Bitcoin from 52K and I held it all the way down to 31,000, which was, I'm sorry, to 33,000. And that was a very high leverage trade. I think that was like 80x leverage.
Holy crap.
Yeah, for like a 36% move. I shorted 48,000 recently, and I'm actually still in the short. So that was
So
back
you
in March where I shorted 48K.
so with any leverage, it's like a several thousand% move.
Yes, it's several thousand% move. Um, but yeah, that the one trade I took in January for that big move up to 65K, that was pretty crazy.
So it is crazy. It's like, so how do you keep holding when like that's the worst time to buy, right? As they say, is when you're making new highs. It's the worst time to be a buyer. So how do you hold along at that point when you're like, okay, we're at 50,000 a day. Is this the time? Is it's 60,000 a day? Is this the
Right, right,
time?
right.
And everything looks overvalued, right? The RSI is high. All these things are high. They're telling you we shouldn't keep going up, but you're like, hey, we're riding the momentum.
Yeah. So the way I trade always is well when I'm holding my If I'm swing trading low leverage, I will just use a trailing stop loss below the last swing low, always. Um,
Okay.
and then I will let that thing get stopped out, obviously not at the top. If I'm trading with leverage, which I pretty much primarily do nowadays, in that case, I am always taking profit early and moving the stop loss to my entry. So even on that short from like $48,000, after a 1% move, I took out profit enough to say, this is a winning trade, put my stop loss to the entry, and then set take profit limit orders along the way down. And so I'm never holding the entire position along the way down. I'm always scaling out of any position that I'm in. Um, and I think that's something that a lot of traders miss is
Hmm.
the way I've actually been able to become profitable is by taking profit early and moving the stop loss to the entry. And what that does is um, basically most people they approach trading with the mentality that the next trade they take is going to be that 100% move on Bitcoin, right? But if you approach every trade as if it's going to go against you and you're going to lose, then when you see that you're in profit, you need to take some of that profit out of the position and move your stop loss to the entry, because what that will do is guarantee that at the very worst, you're going to close that trade with more money in your account than you open that trade. Um, and then you're going to end up with a small win, small loss, right? Because we're going to be taking losses. Sometimes you enter the trade and just immediately goes against you.
Yep.
Small win, small loss, and then huge win. Because one of those trades, when you take the trade, 1% move, take like even half of the profit out, quarter of the profit out, stop loss to entry, it's just going to keep running. It's going to keep
Right.
running.
It keeps working in your direction.
Right. And you got to think too, like if you have 100% of your original position in there, and let's say that, some people say, oh, we got a 3% move now, let me close the whole trade. What if you get a 1% move and you close half the trade, and then you get a 10% move with the 50% that's left in there? Your profit's going to be more than if you had closed the whole trade after a 3% move. But psychologically, it allows you to not be on your phone 24/7 looking at every 30-second candle thinking, should I close or not? Because
Yeah.
you've already grown your account for the day, for the trade, right?
Yeah.
Best case scenario, you're going to be making juicy gains. Worst case scenario, you'll have a small win. Who cares?
Yep.
It's a victory.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I think that's a really important thing for listeners to think about. And remember, neither of us are providing actual financial advice, but as far as educating yourself on what smart investors do, that is one of the things. Is a lot of trading is psychology. So if you can find ways to hack your psychology to make you less emotional in trading and actually making sure that you're closing most trades in the green, that's a really easy way to do that. It's just having the discipline to just set those limits and stick to your rules that I think a lot of people tend to have a hard time doing.
Yep. In fact, the three pillars of trading are having a strategy that you've back tested enough to say, all right, it's a 7 or 8 out of 10 win rate. So right off the bat, you know that if you take, you know, three losses in a row, you can
You're due for a
say,
win.
yeah, you're due for a win, right? That's the first pillar. The second pillar is sticking to good risk management, right? So that if you take those three losses in a row, some people blow their whole account in one or two trades, right?
Yeah.
Um, by like doubling down, right? They're trying to short, price keeps going up, they keep adding. Next thing you know,
Yeah.
they lost like half their account. Um, and then that third pillar, which is most important, is having the patience and the discipline to actually stick to your strategy and only taking those trade setups that are actually according to your strategy, right? Because a lot of people will chase price and they have a plan, but they don't stick to it because they were chasing price and FOMOing. And if you can get those three things down, strategy, risk management, and discipline, then you're setting yourself up to at least not blow your account. And then once you refine those things, especially the strategy aspect of it, then you can really become profitable because the better you get at trading and the more strategies and tools you have at your disposal, the more opportunities you're going to see to take trades that are according to your plan, right? Because you might be starting out and you might be using like Bollinger Bands and the RSI and say, all right, when price crosses into the Bollinger Band with the divergence on the RSI, I'll take a trade. And you could actually be profitable with that. But once you start delving into other types of charts and other strategies and stuff like that, you might notice, hey, every day there's like, who knows, maybe like 5 opportunities for me to take. So, um, the experience really adds a lot to that.
Absolutely. No, those are some great points, and I like your three pillars to being a good trader, or at least starting off well enough to be a good trader. Now, right now, do you exclusively like to pay attention to Bitcoin? Do you have any alts that you watch? Do you have any projects that you particularly are interested in?
Yeah, so right now I exclusively pretty much trade Bitcoin, day trade Bitcoin. That's pretty much what I do. And the reason for that is because when the markets are like this, Bitcoin's the most reliable. I feel like it respects the levels the best. And also, the I'm a very busy guy. Like, I'm a homesteader, so I grow my own food, I raise animals, I do a lot of work outside, and I just don't have time to be charting all these other coins. Um, I do that more in the fall and the winter time, but for right now, I primarily trade Bitcoin and Ethereum, and especially during these times where the markets are so uh, dumpy like this, I'm just sticking to Bitcoin because I know it typically has way more volume than these alts. And honestly, that's all I really need. Like, I'm not here to make millions of dollars. I'm here to make enough so I can support my family. And honestly, Bitcoin is more than enough for that. If you can find a few good trade setups a week, you can make some pretty good money doing this if you have some capital to trade with. So that's kind of where I'm at with it right now. But come winter, I know that I will probably be trading other altcoins as well. And I had a blast during the bull market trading tons of different altcoins. In fact, the most money I ever made on a single trade was a Shiba long.
Oh
So
boy, there we go.
yeah, it was like as high as the leverage could go. I just like said, you know what, man? I saw a good entry. I saw like a retest of like a golden pocket. I'm like, I'm going for it. So
I love that. I mean, the alts can be pretty crazy at times, and I think it's a common theme, especially among people who I've talked to recently. Is right now is a time where people get really the the garbage gets thrown aside and people focus on the value, which is Ethereum, Bitcoin. Um, I see a lot of people trading Solana because they have perpetual contracts and they also have options or derivatives on them. Um, and I think a lot of the trash gets taken out, and people go to the things that have the value, the volume, and are on the safest exchanges. Do you have a particular exchange that you prefer to do your trading on?
yeah, I primarily trade on Bybit and Femex. And I've been using an exchange called BitGet also lately, which I've really been enjoying.
BitGet. Okay, I haven't heard of that
Yeah.
one yet.
Yeah, they're a newer exchange, and they reached out to me because they wanted some publicity, and so I said, yeah, I'll give it a try. And I do really like it. It's actually I like it better than Femex. So they have a lot. They have good liquidity on the exchange. I've never had an issue getting like limit orders filled, which I have had on Femex, which is wild because I don't trade with that big position size. Like on average, I probably put like one to $200,000 on a trade on average. And so, like on Femex, I'll have issues getting limit orders filled. Like it will take a long time. Price will have to like hit that level a few times before like the full order gets filled. I've never had an issue with that on BitGet.
Well, that's
And
a good
Bybit,
sign.
yeah, Bybit's like the gold standard in my opinion. I mean, they just have the most volume out of any exchange. They have the most assets. Uh, their website's the easiest to use. I will say this about BitGet: their mobile app, I think, is better than the Bybit mobile app because you can actually slide your positions on the mobile app like you could on a computer, where you just drag and drop your stop loss and all that.
Okay, and can you do the same thing with your the amount of what am margin or whatever you're using in it?
Oh yeah, yeah, like leverage, you can slide your
Yes,
leverage up and
adjust your
down.
leverage because that's what I used to
Yep.
love about Binance was you could essentially take profits using the leverage on trades, which just it saves you time and money.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same as Binance. I never really margin traded on Binance, because what really got me into uh, margin trading for crypto in general was when I found out about Bybit. It was just so easy to use for me, and Binance was more what I used to buy crypto on spot. And then in 2021, I think Binance basically like shunned the United States, and even
Yeah.
with like a VPN, I tried to be as sneaky as possible, and they still somehow found out.
Yeah, I think the Binance days for most US residents is kind of over.
Yeah.
Is there any traders that like you specifically still look up to and that like you developed, maybe you took a lot of their styles from, made your own that you think other people should check out?
Yeah, for sure, man. So Tino from Traders Reality, Chart Champions are amazing traders. Um, Toros Crypto, those guys are amazing traders as well. Um, and then, well, I have to say also VP from No Nonsense Forex, but he's not coming from a crypto perspective, um, but he's definitely coming from a perspective of a lot of my mindset when it comes to trading comes from him about like basically looking at your chart and dividing everything into an algorithm so that you can look at the chart and say trade or no trade, basically, right?
Yeah,
Is there a trade here? Yes or no?
right. Well, and like I think you've hinted at it a few times now, which is you don't want to be what I call like a chart monkey, which is someone who's just like forced to be by the computer screen like most of the day, all day, or they're on their phone constantly checking out the charts, and you have like no freedom from what you're trying to do because you're so wrapped up in a trade. So I think to be able to develop a strategy where you can set it and forget it, or look at your phone or look at the charts really quick and know whether this is a time where it's worth it, your time or not.
Right, right, and that's something that I also like to do, which is even if I'm day trading, I will do my TA in the morning, mark out my levels, set my alerts, and go on about my day. And I'll keep the computer like in the pickup truck bed. And if I get an alert, and I post, people who follow my YouTube channel, I post shorts like I'm out there like putting mulch on the potatoes, and then I got my laptop in the truck, and I'm over here taking a trade, making money while I'm mulching the potatoes. And it really helps to have that mentality of I know already what I want, and so I don't have to sit there all day freaking out like some people do. Like, should I long or should I short? I don't know. What's the price going to do? I don't know. Like, no, I already know what I'm looking for. I want price to come here. I know what I want to see on my indicators. If that happens, I take a trade. If it doesn't happen, I don't take a trade. It's that simple.
Yeah, no, I like it. It seems like a good strategy you got going on there. So I kind of want to shift gears a little bit here. You said you're a homesteader. What's that like? What's your day to day like? To maintain that. What are you doing to? What's your kind of beliefs as it pertains to health and fitness?
As it pertains to health and fitness, um, what do you mean? Like, how do I balance all these things?
Yeah, kind of like on one sense, like I think people think of day trader, they think of someone who's like very much in the hustle and bustle, someone that lives in a city area. That's the cliche thought, right? And
Right.
Um, so to see someone who is, in fact, the polar opposite, and is a day trader, I think is kind of cool. So like, how do you balance it out? Like, what's like I just said, kind of what's the day to day like?
Right. So I wake up at like 4:30, 4:35 in the morning, and the first thing I do every day is I pray for half an hour. Um, and that kind of just like gets me focused for the day, man, to focus
Yeah,
on,
get you grounded.
yeah, something that's outside of myself, right? And then typically I will do some exercise for like 30 minutes to 45 minutes, um, and just like get the blood pumping.
What
And
do you
then,
like to do for exercise?
well, on a normal day, I will do like I don't know, like 200 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and like 200 like jump squats or something, like some kind of circuit that works the full body, push pull leg kind of thing. I might do like hyper extensions instead of squats. I might do dips instead of push-ups or whatever.
Yeah.
But I lift weights twice a week, so I do full body twice a week. I do basically it's like a really watered down version of like West Side Barbell kind of deal.
Okay, I'm
Um,
very familiar.
Yeah, so I do full body 2 days a week. I do a heavy day where I'm doing reps between like 5 and 3, and I'll
Yep.
do a light day where I'm doing like 8 to 20 reps, and I just constantly vary the change the variation, right? So if I'm doing like a flat bench press one week, the next week I'll do an incline, and then I'll do like flat bench press, close grip with resistance bands or chains or something like that. Um, same with the deadlift. I'll do like conventional deadlift, sumo deadlift, trap bar deadlift. Like I'll just constantly be changing the variation up from week to week, and I pretty much like I said, one day I'll like max out. I'll go as heavy as possible, maybe even doing singles, and then that second day I'll just do volume, and that basically allows me to constantly be progressing uh, without having to do the whole like training blocks like I used
Yeah,
to do.
periodizing your workouts and
Yeah, yep. I don't do that at all, and I just do it in 2 workouts a week, and I get more volume in those 2 workouts than your average gym bro gets in a week doing his chest day or whatever. Um, because every single workout I'm doing some kind of variation of squat, bench, and deadlift, and then I'm filling in the gaps with like rows and dips and chin ups and stuff like that. I just focus on the compound movements mostly, man. Um, and then days I don't work out, like I said, I do those circuits. It's mostly just for cardio and for half an hour, 45 minutes. And I do this in the morning, and typically I'm done before 6 in the morning, and then I immediately get out into the farm and do things that I take care of the animals. Obviously in the morning. If there's something I have to do to the gardens, I'll do that, and then I sit down at the charts at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I come up with my trading plan, and I'm typically trading for New York Open just because there's a lot of volume injected into the market then. And
yeah.
then after that, I just set my alerts, and I typically am back outside by like 11 or noon, and I will do work outside until like the late afternoon, basically. And I
So
also
like more like
practice intermittent fasting, so I don't eat during that whole time either.
really? Wow. So like a
Yeah,
lot of your day is taking part in the morning. Like
yeah,
sounds like by 7:30 a.m. like you've already had yourself pretty much a kick-ass morning. And then you're back out there, you've set everything up on the charts, you're waiting for your alerts. Let's say it's noon and you get an alert, like what happens? You just scramble to the truck, check out the charts, enter a trade if
yeah,
needed.
yeah. Basically, man, that's
That's
basically
kind of
what I
awesome.
do. Yeah.
Um, and then so you said you intermittent fast too.
hmm
What's your diet usually like? Is it you eat everything that
Um,
you grow foreseeably, or
yeah. So the goal is to basically provide all of our as much of our food as possible. So right now, um, we're mostly the things we're mostly focused on growing right now are potatoes and beans and squash, greens, and then we have a whole bunch of chickens that we are using for eggs and meat. The next step is goats, but for right now, like I'm on a diet. It's basically just like I don't eat anything that comes in a package usually, and I also don't eat grains. So I don't know if you're familiar with like the Weston Price kind of philosophy.
I'm actually not.
So he's like a dentist who like traveled the world, noticing that like tooth health was related to diet, and then there's like a whole philosophy of nutrition built off of that, where basically you prioritize an animal based diet that's high in like grass fed, grass finished meat, organ meat, raw dairy, unpasteurized raw dairy, um, and eggs, and then lots of like vegetables and stuff like that. And you kind of like stay away from things like grains. Not that you stay away from carbs, but you stay away from like wheat and corn and basically everything that's in your typical American, the stuff that makes everyone
It's been
sick.
highly processed for years, and
Right, and like hybridized and stuff like that, where like the wheat we have today is like not like the wheat they had like 1,000 years ago.
right. Um, it kind of so you're regularly eating like organ meats, stuff like that.
Yeah, not that regular. That's the philosophy of the diet, but
Okay.
a lot of grass fed beef that we get from a local farm around here, and obviously tons of eggs. We have 30 chickens, and more that are not laying yet. Um, but lots of vegetables, man. And then we grow our own potatoes and squash and beans, and we keep that all year. And we're still eating from last year, honestly. And we just started harvesting now the summer squash. I think just last week. So
That's awesome. I think that's really cool. I would love to be able to get to something like that. It's not as attainable, I think, where I am, but it's also just depends on how much effort you want to put into this stuff. Um, but I definitely wholeheartedly agree with the less stuff that you can eat out of a package, the better off you're going to be.
yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's just it's. I mean, I feel so much better. I used to, out of high school, I was a professional guitarist for 3 years, and I pretty much ate like fast food like multiple times a day. And
Jeez.
I'm 31, and I feel better than I did when I turned 21. Man, I'm not even gonna lie, because you know, I was like, I was not taking care of myself. I didn't realize how bad I felt until you look back and realize, like, man, I was like not very healthy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is a lot of people don't know that them feeling like crap isn't how you're supposed to feel, right? Because if you've never felt what it feels like to be, fit and healthy and taking care of yourself, then your gold standard is really low. So, I think it's taking that first step of like, hey, let me just start eliminating things. I think there's so many different diets that people get caught up in which one's perfect and this and that, and it doesn't help that you have a lot of influencers that are trying to steer people in different directions. Whereas if you just make it simple, kind of like you were talking about, let's just take a step back, eat less things out of packages, eat more protein, have more vegetables or grown carbohydrates. I think that's a pretty simple formula for most people.
Yeah, for sure, man. I feel like everyone kind of knows what healthy eating is, and it's hard to get there. And I can't say that I like endorse any specific kind of diet, because I don't. I just really, even the way I eat now, like, it's not like I made a decision to eat this way. It just kind of happened naturally. Um, you know, the more you learn about like the food industry, and the more you learn just about health in general, the more you just kind of move in that direction. Especially one of the reasons I'm a homesteader, it all goes back to like being self sufficient. And if you we were talking a little bit before the podcast, but really, being free and self sufficient, you have to be healthy for that to happen. If you want to um, be a free individual and not be reliant on the government, well, you can't be sick, right? You can't be eating their food that's going to give you diabetes, so you have to take their drug and be a slave to your Medicare and Medicaid for the rest of your life until you slowly die. Uh, you know,
It
it's
doesn't
like,
sound like a great go. Yeah. You
yeah,
know,
I don't know, like, and I'm not trying to get political, but it's funny to me how people want to get all rah rah America freedom. We don't need nobody, but then those same people are like complaining that, oh, but I need my health insurance, which is why I have to stay at my job, and I don't like my job, but if I quit and try and start my own business, I want my health insurance. It's like, well, how's your diet? Like, why are you sick right now? Like,
yeah,
like,
I
why do you
agree. I
need
mean,
that medicine?
yeah,
I,
if
I know.
you're
I don't mean to, like, I mean no offense. There are some people where they've been dealt a bad hand in life, but that should be the exception, right? That shouldn't be the
right, it
norm.
shouldn't be the rule. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if your goal is to be self sufficient and you believe in America in the first place, well, your first thing you need to be doing is making sure that you are in control of your own health and destiny, right? And that starts with what you put in your mouth. That's the number one thing you can control the easiest is the decisions that you make 3, 4, 5 times a day. That's where I actually think intermittent fasting is good for some people is if you have a really poor diet and you're like, where do I start? Well, it's like if you're making less decisions a day, that's now instead of you making 5 decisions a day, you just make 2 decisions a day. All right, I'm going to have a big lunch and I'm going to have chicken, some salad, a little bit of potatoes, and then I'm going to have a big dinner. Like you're having less opportunities to mess it up. That's why I think intermittent fasting can be helpful for people at first. Um, but at the end of the day, if your goal is to be like you were kind of saying, like the rah rah, like uh, American exercising their rights, then you should first start by like taking care of good care of yourself first, so that way you're not someone else's responsibility. You're not relying on insurance companies, doctors, prescription medications. If, like you said, you weren't just unluckily born with things that obviously need that type of care.
Right. And like I said, I don't mean to offend anybody. I'm talking about the people who don't have to be in that situation, but they're putting themselves in that situation, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's out of the portion of people who are suffering from those type of what we'll call cardiovascular ailments. Majority of them were probably preventable with exercise and diet.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that pretty much any disease can be at least improved through diet and exercise, and nutrition especially. I mean, it's amazing how many conditions and what we call diseases are caused by malnutrition or at least an unbalanced diet. Um, but you don't learn about that stuff, not even in medical school, man. I'm
Oh
not a
yeah,
doctor. This is not medical or financial advice.
I would solely agree with you there. Um, but I think part of it is that people are are essentially they're lied to, and it's hard to find the right information a lot of times. Uh, and it's not like direct lying, but like I was taught in school that like the food pyramid is like pasta followed by,
Right, right.
like that's, and it's not that long ago that I was in high school, 10 years ago. Like that's what people were being told, is that pasta is the base of what you eat, followed by some type of vegetable, followed by some type of meat. And at the very, actually, I think dairy might have even been below meat. So it's like, you're being told you need 2 to 3 servings of just regular dairy a day, 3 to 4 servings of grains a day, and then comes everything else. And then
Yeah,
sugar was at the very top as something that you have, maybe once a day or more. And it's like that alone, the fact that, and I'm not even convinced that that's not still being taught.
yeah. I don't know. I try and stay far away from schools. I don't send my kids to public school. I don't know what they teach them these days, but but yeah, it is very interesting how the food pyramid was taught, and just it's also crazy that when I look around at like people my age, um, it's very typical that you'll see that typically they'll be very overweight and much more so than their parents. I notice, who are like
That's an
30
interesting
years older,
observation.
and it's like why is that the case? Like why is that like the younger generation, you're 30 years younger but you're like 30 pounds heavier? How is that possible unless there's something not right with our nutrition?
I think a lot of it has to do with nutrition. I think a lot of it's also, though, just like how people are brought up. Like I think it's really normal for the people you were just talking about, like people who are probably your parents' generation or above, that like after dinner they would go for a walk together, or um, they'd go for a hike or take their, do these active things as like part of their lifestyle. Versus now, I think it's really odd to see like a 30-year-old married couple like going for walks and stuff after dinner unless they're like on some sort of diet or program.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's funny because my wife is right here, and we are a 30-year-old couple, and we do go for walks after dinner. So
There you
yeah,
go.
we're
You guys are the anomalies.
yeah.
So Jason, I mean, it's been good talking to you. I wanted to just give you an opportunity if there was some other topics that you really wanted to hit on before we start kind of wrapping things up. Actually, there was one thing that popped into my head. I noticed that on a lot of your videos, you wear the Pikachu hat, and it's always in a lot of your thumbnails. Where did that come from?
So I never showed my face for the longest time on my YouTube channel, and then I kind of like trolled everyone and said, "All right, I'm going to show my face," and I just showed. I was wearing the Pikachu hat, and I just showed myself like this. and so I just kept wearing that hat. There's really no reason for it.
Okay. I was just kind of
Yeah.
curious. I was like, there's got to be some sort of backstory to this.
No, there's not really, man. I present myself. I don't take myself very seriously online. My whole channel is kind of like a meme, right? It's kind of like a meme. I don't know how much you've watched my content, but I basically troll myself. Like that's my whole like
Yeah, yeah.
shtick.
Not taking yourself super serious, and I mean, if you can't laugh at yourself, what can you laugh at?
Yeah, basically. I basically just troll myself, and so the whole Pikachu hat thing just became part of the Jayson Casper character. That is, obviously, I do play a character as much as I am genuine in my wanting to help people. There's an entertainment aspect of being on YouTube, and so
Yeah,
the
awesome.
Pikachu hat just is part of that.
Well, it's definitely become a signature, and like I think when my friend who referred me to your channel originally, and I saw it, I was like, oh, you know what? I think I've seen videos of this guy with the Pikachu hat before. So it's definitely becoming part of your brand and your icon.
Yeah, I don't have it with me now. I'm actually like on the road right now. I'm in the car, so
Ah, it's a
but
disappointment.
yeah,
Well, I wanted to thank you for hopping on here. I mean, I think what you're doing is very honorable. You're helping people take control of their financial situations, which there's no limits to really how that can impact lives. And I think the ripple effect of that is really large. And it's also too very admirable to be an honest person in that situation, because I think there's some people that do these things and they end up turning into pump and dump groups or anything along those lines, and you're totally the polar opposite of that. So I wanted to acknowledge you for that, and I think you've given us some great takeaways for listeners today.
cool, man. Thank you so much for having me on the channel. Yeah, I'm honored that you would have me on, and thank you.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I think people will like this, and we'll have to do another one on a little bit of a follow up, especially hopefully once the prices start moving up again and people get excited about crypto once again.
Yeah, I hope that happens someday. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. My fellow Rockets, you can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube. Be sure to check out Jayson Casper's channel on YouTube. Follow him on Twitter for more great insights. You can follow me at Ruda on Instagram. That's RUUDDDAAA. You can find me on there, as well as you can find Ruda's Rockets Twitter as well. All right, guys, thank you, and can't wait to see you for the next episode.